do.
Hi, my name is Christopher Cady. I'm the author of the Nurse Chef Project at blogspot.com. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make something special for the holidays. It's Christmas time in New England, and Christmas time always brings one to some happy holiday family memories. And my great-grandmother, my Mime, used to make these Toll House cookies at Christmas time. It's been many years since she passed away, and even since family members and friends rave about how uniquely flavored her Toll House cookies were. They're a simple recipe that we're going to get to right now. So, we'll set these aside for later, and we're just going to get right to it. Put my glasses on. So, Toll House cookies start off in two parts. We're going to do our dry ingredients, and then we're going to do our wet ingredients. Our first dry ingredient is all-purpose, unbleached flour. I like to have something long and flat to help maintain my measurements. So I'm going to use the back end of a bread knife. And so we're going to need, for this recipe, we're going to do 2½ cups of unbleached, unbromated, all-purpose flour. And I've done a little bit of experimentation. My Mime did not use unbleached flour, but from a health perspective, I just like the idea of having flour that hasn't really been altered. This is really just light, soft. It's a little bit softer, and so that's the reason why I'm doing the 2½ instead of 2¼ cups that are part of the original recipe. So that was our 2 cups of flour, and here is 1/2. And I think it's important to explain the differences because, you know, I like this flour and it works well for my recipe, so that's why I'm doing it. It's important to tweak a recipe from time to time and make it more uniquely yours. So that's our flour, and to the flour we're going to have a teaspoon of salt. This is just sea salt, finely ground sea salt. You can buy it in any grocery store. Sea salt is a little bit more natural than the iodized salt that you find in the grocery stores, and I tend to prefer that. So we've got one heaping teaspoon, because I'm going to be using unsalted butter for this. So I want a little bit of extra salt. The salt has the salt just brings out the flavor of the chocolate. There's sugar, there's chocolate, so you want something that's really going to bring out the flavor and the sweetness. And we're also going to have 1 teaspoon of regular Arm & Hammer, baking soda. And for this, I do like a level teaspoon of this as well. So just scrape that off, and in it goes. And that's your dry mix. So now we're going to just whisk it together gently. We want to make sure that the salt and the baking soda are well incorporated so that there are no clumps of baking soda and no clumps of salt. And there we go. So there's your dry ingredients. We're going to set these aside for a moment. And now the next step, we have to cream butter and sugar together. Now for this process, I have my dear friend Sven. This is my 6-quart Professional Series KitchenAid stand mixer. This does not mean you have to run out and buy one. They're a little bit pricey, but I find that to incorporate the butter and the sugar together most effectively and with the least amount of effort, the mixer and a flat beater tend to really make short work of the process. So into the bowl of the stand mixer, we have 2 sticks or 1 cup of unsalted, room temperature, not melted, not wet and dripping, but just 2 sticks of butter. And get all of it, because the butter is integral to the flavor. You have options. I know people that will use margarine or shortening, or a butter-flavored shortening is something a friend of mine once used. But I prefer just plain unsalted butter. It's the easiest to come by. Now into the butter we're going to add equal parts of light or white sugar to equal parts of brown sugar. So it's 3/4 cup, and I happen to have a 3/4 cup measuring cup right here, It's relatively level. It doesn't need to be the same exactness as with the baking soda. But so that's 3/4 of a cup of white sugar. And we're going to have 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Now this is one of the secrets to my Mémè's recipe. My Mémè mixed dark brown sugar, and light brown sugar. And there is a quality, there's a flavor that you get from mixing the two. And with brown sugar, of course, you just firmly pack your measuring cup. It doesn't necessarily need to be perfectly level, but you have it packed so that it just all drops right in. And so now we take this mix. We've got our brown sugar and our white sugar in the butter, and we're just going to put the bowl into the base of the mixer. This paddle, I happen to love this paddle because it's got a scraper on the side of it that really helps to scrape down the bowl. You know, having more tools in the toolbox makes the job a little bit easier sometimes. So the bowl lifts up, and we're going to start slowly. I'm going to bring it on low speed, and then I'm going to slowly increase the speed as the butter combines. And that's how you know that it is properly creamed. The butter and the sugar and the brown sugar have now sort of become like a paste, and all of the sugar granules have been combined with flour, and they're all coated well. And so to this, now we're going to add eggs and vanilla. I'm just going to put the vanilla extract in first, give it a little stir. I'm using pure vanilla extract. I feel that it's very important to use the pure vanilla extract. The imitation, it tends to taste a little bit fake, so. Alright. Creaming is very important for this. It creates a fluffiness, it adds a little bit of air, and it makes the batter stand up a little bit better. So now we're going to add our eggs. Now, if you're not comfortable breaking eggs, and even, I mean, I break eggs all the time, I'm doing it into a separate bowl because, you know, if you get a little bit of shell into it at this point, you could very easily have to start all over. So there's one grated large egg. You're going to use 2 of them, and it's very important when you're using this recipe. You want the large egg, not the jumbo, not small eggs, just one large egg, and you do it one at a time so that they get the chance to really combine. So we're going to start that up. Now we're just going to take our last egg and slightly better, but now with this I did get a little bit of shell into my egg, and now I'm just going to, with my impeccably clean fingers, going to remove that little bit of shell, and in it goes. Now, even though I've got this scraper on the side, I'm just going to scrape down the bowl a little bit because we're going to add our dry ingredients. And I just want to make sure that everything incorporates properly. Just scraping down. Okay, and now we're going to take our dry ingredients and we're going to combine it in little half cupfuls, because if we put it all in at once, this would probably just come like a volcano right back up in my face. And now, to protect me and my cameraman, we're going to just apply a little splatter shield. This comes with the mixer if you buy one of these. So, turn it on slowly. Alright, so now we've combined our butter and our sugar and eggs and all the wet and dry ingredients. They're very nicely combined. I'm just going to bring this all over. You can see it's got a nice light color to it. This is exactly how it's supposed to look. And this is sort of a token cookie dough. I mean, there's a lot that you could do with this recipe just as it is. I mean, we're adding chocolate and walnuts, and we're going to make the classic Toll House cookies, but you could add white chocolate pieces and macadamia nuts, and then have your very popular white chocolate macadamia nut cookie. And just scraping down the paddle so that we get as much of the batter out, or you leave a little bit as a chef's snack so that you get to taste what you're baking. That's important. You should always test what you're baking, but this is raw dough with raw uncooked eggs in it, and there are plenty of people that would not want to risk eating raw eggs in this form. I'm not one of those people, but still, it's a wise tip from a healthcare provider. Let's not expose ourselves to unnecessary bacteria. So now, I'm again just taking sweeping motions with a rubber spatula and going down just to make sure that everything is combined. So now that we have this combined, the next step is our chocolate chips. Now these are simple Toll House, Nestle Toll House semi-sweet baking morsels. I've tried cheaper brands, I've tried store brands and generics. I don't like the flavor of them. They don't taste the way Mimim made them when you use the knockoffs. So if you're going to do it, particularly for the holidays, do it right. And I get the original 2 cups of baking pieces, and I'm just turning and combining. The stand mixer has a wonderful dough hook that does make short work of this, but I just want to do it by hand so that you can see, because there are a lot of people that don't have those kinds of machines. So this is very well combined, and that's how we want it. Now we've got some chopped walnuts. I'm going to be using about a half a cup of chopped walnuts. Maybe a little bit more, that never hurt anybody. A bit more still. So we've got about a half a cup of chopped walnuts, and these do provide a lot of flavor. If you're obviously allergic to nuts, please avoid them. Or if you're going to be making them for someone who has nut allergies, it's always a good idea to know whether or not that could be potentially life-threatening. Though what a way to go, really. I mean, death by cookie is one way I would not mind going out. Alright. And this is just a simple matter of sweet... This is just a simple matter of gently turning. Well, that was unexpected, but, you know, no apologies. When you're in the privacy of your own kitchen, who's to know when such things happen? So, all right. So now everything is combined. Recording? Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to scoop out the dough. We want uniformity. We want uniformity in sizes. We want them evenly spaced. And I find the best tool to accomplish that is just this small, simple ice cream scoop. It makes just the right sizes, and if you have to adjust always, you know, with your impeccably clean hands, you just position them so that they're about 1 inch to 1.5 inches apart. Now, a little bit of history about Toll House cookies. They were invented in Massachusetts, like I said. They actually came from the Toll House Inn in Whitman, Massachusetts, and there, a woman by the name of Ruth Wakefield one day decided, she owned and operated the establishment, so she decided she was going to put some Nestle's baking chocolate into a simple cookie dough just like this, in the hopes that the chocolate would swirl once it was in the oven, and then it would create a nice design in the cookie. Well, that didn't exactly turn out that way, as we know, but fortunately for America, it spread like wildfire through New England with all the foot traffic. You know, the Toll House is where you would go to get a meal, break up your journey, get some relaxation, rest, hear the local news, and, you know, pay your toll for going from point A to point B. It certainly would be something if a Mass Pike toll worker tried to throw a cookie into your car when you were trying to pay your toll on I-90. But so now we've got a nice evenly spaced tray. I'm using I'm using parchment paper on my cookie sheet because it minimizes the chance of the cookie dough sticking. I've had these simple cookie sheets for quite a while. My dough doesn't really stick, but this makes the cleanup a little bit easier. It makes a quick change. Now, on warm days, particularly today, it is a bit warm in here. You want the butter to harden up again. You could put them into the oven right now, but they might get a little cakey. They may spread and get much softer and wider spread. They might not hold their shape as much. So what you would do is you would take these over to your freezer, uncovered for about, 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes tops. And I've got here a set that I had already put in here. A little bit of jockeying and without knocking anything over. And these just look perfect. The butter has hardened up a little bit. They're firm, and you're going to take these and just put them right into your 375-degree oven. Top rack or upper portion of the oven tends to work the best. I'm going to set a timer for about 11 minutes. Things may be different in your oven. Your oven could be a little bit more powerful than mine. It may bake with a little bit greater efficiency, so keep an eye on it. When the cookies look browned, when they look set and they're no longer gooey, that's when you can go ahead and take them out. And of course, here's our finished product. We've got some beautiful Beautiful cookies. These are made, this specific batch that I made before we filmed was without walnuts. These are for a colleague of mine that has a nut allergy in her family. But I mean, they're just beautiful. They're soft. They're perfectly browned. And, of course, they just taste absolutely delicious. I mean, I very much would have been proud of this. And if you have leftover batter, not enough to fill a whole tray, you don't have to keep putting them on a tray. Another option I have here, this is just a little cast iron enameled skillet, and I filled it with some cookie dough, baked it in the oven, same temperature, and I mean, what a perfect dessert. Dollop of ice cream and maybe a little hot fudge sauce, and you have a delicious cookie sundae. And so that's that. So now what we have, I mean, this is your basic Toll House cookie with a little bit of a twist. You know, we're varying the sugar, changing the textures, and really just, I think, very, very perfectly replicating how my grandmother made these cookies and how she got very, very famous for them. So, good luck. I hope you'll enjoy making these cookies. The recipe will be listed on my website. Please be sure to check out the Nurse Chef Project at blogspot.com. My name is Christopher Cady. A very Merry Christmas and happiest of holidays to all of you. Thank you for joining me. And je t'aimerai toujours de amour. Have a good night.